Rain washed the city in silver that evening, blurring the neon signs and turning the sidewalks into mirrors of broken light. Inside the small cafe on Grant Street, Ellie Parker wiped down the counter for the third time. Not because it needed it, but because closing time always made her restless. At 24, Ellie lived a quiet life. She worked double shifts as a barista, rented a tiny apartment above a laundromat, and sent money every month to help her younger brother through college. Dreams were a luxury she couldn't afford. Survival was enough. The bell above the cafe door chimed. She looked up and froze. The man who stepped inside didn't belong here. His suit was dark, perfectly tailored. His presence altered the room, as if the air itself had learned to stand at attention. He removed his coat slowly, rain clinging to his shoulders. His eyes sharp and unreadable as they swept across the cafe and landed on her. Ellie swallowed. She had seen him before. Not in person, but on screens, magazine covers, business headlines. Adrian Vale, billionaire, tech magnate, the youngest CEO to ever take Vale Industries global. A man rumored to be ruthless in negotiations and emotionally untouchable in private. He approached the counter. "Coffee," he said, voice calm, deep, black. Ellie nodded, hands moving automatically. She felt his gaze on her the entire time, observing, calculating. When she handed him the cup, their fingers brushed. Electric. She pulled back quickly. "Thank you," he said. Then, after a pause, "Ellie Parker." Her breath caught. "How do you know my name?" Quote, Adrian placed a sleek business card on the counter. "We need to talk. An hour later, Ellie sat across from him in the back office, heart pounding so loudly she was sure he could hear it. "I don't understand," she said. "I've never worked for you. I've never." Quote, "This isn't about you," Adrian interrupted. "It's about your brother." Her stomach dropped. "He's in trouble," Adrian continued evenly. 6 months ago, he invested in a startup using funds he didn't have, loans backed by false guarantees. My company absorbed the loss. Ellie's hands trembled. "I didn't know. He never told me." "I believe you," Adrian said, "but the debt still exists." "I don't have money," she whispered. "I barely." Quote, "I'm not asking for money." He leaned back, fingers steepled, eyes steady. "I'm asking you to marry me." The words hit like thunder. "What?" Ellie breathed. "It will be a legal marriage. Public. Controlled," he said. "In return, your brother's debt disappears. His record stays clean." He walks away. Ellie stood abruptly. "This is insane." "Why me?" Quote, "Because you're invisible to my world," Adrian replied. "No scandals. No ambition for power. And because I need stability." She laughed bitterly. "You need a wife." "I need an image," he corrected. "My board is pressuring me. Investors want reassurance. A grounded personal life." Ellie shook her head. "And what do I get?" Quote, "Security. Protection. Freedom from financial fear," he said. Then, more quietly, "But I won't lie to you." She met his eyes. "This will never be about love. I don't promise affection. I don't offer romance. My life doesn't allow it." Silence stretched between them. Ellie thought of her brother, of eviction notices, of nights spent counting coins. "When would this happen?" she asked softly. "Soon," Adrian replied. You'll have the night to decide. As he stood, he added one final sentence. Low, controlled, honest. Don't mistake this for a fairy tale. This is a contract. Ellie watched him leave, the bell chiming softly behind him. Outside, the rain kept falling, and for the first time in her life, Ellie Parker stood at the edge of a decision that would change everything. The penthouse sat at the top of Vale Tower like a throne carved from glass and steel. Ellie had never seen anything like it. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around the living space, revealing the city stretched endlessly below. Tiny cars, glowing streets, lives moving far away from hers. Everything gleamed. Marble floors, minimalist furniture, silence so pristine it felt rehearsed. This is temporary, Adrian said as he led her inside. If you're uncomfortable, adjustments can be made. Ellie nodded, clutching her small suitcase. Temporary. The word felt thin considering the weight of the ring now resting on her finger. The wedding had been swift and private. No flowers, no music, just signatures, a brief exchange of vows, and cameras kept carefully at a distance for a later press release. Adrian had kissed her cheek, not her lips, and stepped back as if emotion itself were something to be managed. This arrangement will be respectful, he had said. You'll have your own room, your own life. And he had meant it. Ellie's bedroom was larger than her entire old apartment. A king-sized bed she barely touched. A wardrobe already stocked with clothes in her size. Elegant, tasteful, impersonal. She wandered the penthouse that first evening alone, barefoot on cold marble, feeling like a guest in a museum. Adrian worked. He was always working. Meetings filled the air with voices behind closed doors. Calls whispered in low tones. Assistants arrived and left without ever quite looking at her. She was present, but not included. At dinner, they sat across from each other at a long table meant for 10. How was your day? Ellie asked one evening, breaking the silence. Productive, Adrian replied, eyes briefly lifting from his tablet. She nodded, stabbing at her food. The distance between them felt wider than the city below. Days passed. Ellie tried to find her place. She explored the building gym but felt watched. She flipped through art books she didn't understand. At night, she stood by the windows, pressing her forehead to the glass, wondering how a life could change so completely and still feel so empty. One night, unable to sleep, she padded into the kitchen. Adrian stood there, sleeves rolled up, loosening his tie. He looked different in the quiet hours. Less polished, more human. Can't sleep? He asked. She shook her head. Too quiet. He poured himself water. You'll get used to it. I don't want to, she said softly. He paused, studying her. You miss your old life. I miss feeling real, she admitted. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite guilt, not quite regret. You're not a possession, Ellie, he said. If this feels like a cage. Quote, I agreed, she interrupted gently. I just didn't realize how lonely safety could be. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian did something unexpected. He pulled out a chair. Sit. She hesitated, then obeyed. I don't do this well, he said quietly. Personal things. People leave when they get close. I learned early not to promise what I can't give. Ellie met his gaze. I didn't ask for promises. Just honesty. He nodded once. Then here it is. I don't know how to be a husband, but I won't be cruel. It wasn't romantic, but it was real. Later that night, alone in her room, Ellie stared at the city lights and realized something unsettling. The man she'd married wasn't heartless. He was afraid, and somehow, without intending to, she was beginning to care. Ellie learned quickly that being Adrian Vale's wife meant being seen, but never truly known. The first public appearance came 2 weeks after the wedding. A charity gala hosted by Vale Industries. All crystal chandeliers and practiced smiles. Ellie stood beside Adrian as cameras flashed, her hand resting lightly on his arm, her posture careful and composed. "You're doing well," Adrian murmured as they moved through the crowd. "Just smile. Don't answer personal questions." She nodded, even as her heart raced. People looked at her with curiosity, speculation flickering behind polite expressions. Who was she? Where had she come from? Why her? A woman in a silver gown leaned toward Ellie. "You're very lucky," she said sweetly. "Adrian never settles." Ellie forced a smile. Lucky didn't feel like the right word. Later, as Adrian spoke with board members, Ellie found herself alone near the balcony. The city glittered below, familiar yet unreachable. She inhaled deeply, grateful for the cool air. "You look like you want to escape." She turned. The man approaching her wore a charming smile and an expensive suit. "Daniel Harper," he said, "longtime investor, and apparently very curious." Ellie offered a polite nod. "Ellie." "Of course," Daniel said, glancing toward Adrian. "Everyone's curious about you." Before Ellie could reply, Adrian was there. His hand settled at the small of her back. Not possessive, but deliberate. "She's with me," Adrian said coolly. Daniel raised an eyebrow, amused. "Of course. Just making conversation." As Daniel walked away, Ellie felt Adrian's hand linger a second longer than necessary. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" Quote, "For not making that awkward." He exhaled. "I don't enjoy people treating you like a headline." That surprised her. At home later that night, Ellie removed her heels and sank onto the couch, exhaustion seeping into her bones. "I didn't realize how exhausting pretending could be," she admitted. Adrian loosened his tie. "You won't always have to." She looked at him. "You sound like you plan to keep me here longer than the contract." He didn't answer. Days later, the cracks widened. Ellie began noticing small things. Adrian bringing her coffee without comment, asking her opinion on a design decision, standing closer during meetings than necessary. One evening, she found him in the study staring at an old photograph. A younger Adrian stood beside a woman, his mother, perhaps, both smiling. "She believed people were worth trusting," he said quietly. "She died before she learned how wrong she was." Ellie stepped closer. Maybe she was right anyway. He looked at her then. Really looked at her. "You shouldn't say things like that," he said. "They make me forget the rules." Her breath caught. "What rules?" Quote, "The ones keeping us from making a mistake." The air between them thickened. For a moment, just one, Ellie thought he might kiss her. Instead, Adrian stepped back. "This can't cross that line," he said firmly. "Emotions complicate things." Ellie nodded, masking the ache in her chest, of course. But that night, alone in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about how close he'd been. How his voice had softened. How his hand had almost reached for hers. And Adrian, in his own room, stared at the ceiling, realizing something terrifying. The woman he married out of necessity was becoming the one thing he hadn't planned for. And the walls he'd built so carefully were starting to fail. The distance didn't arrive all at once. It crept in quietly. Missed dinners, shortened conversations, Adrian staying later at the office while Ellie watched the city lights alone from the penthouse windows. The warmth that had begun to form between them didn't disappear, but it stalled, frozen beneath unspoken fear. Ellie felt it. Adrian was pulling away. When she asked him about it, he gave her careful answers. The company's expanding. The board needs more of my time. This phase will pass. But his eyes avoided hers. The breaking point came with the announcement. Vale Industries was opening a European headquarters, and Adrian would be spending months overseas. The news reached Ellie through a press briefing she watched on her phone, sitting alone at the kitchen counter. That night, she waited for him. When Adrian finally arrived home, jacket draped over his arm, she stood. "You're leaving," she said quietly. "Yes. You didn't think to tell me?" Quote, "I was going to," he replied, voice measured. "It's complicated." "No," Ellie said, her chest tight. "What's complicated is realizing I matter less than a press release." He flinched. "This isn't about you," Adrian said. "That's the problem," she replied. "It never is." Silence pressed down on them. "I'm doing this to protect what we've built," he said. "Distance keeps things clean." Ellie shook her head. "Distance doesn't protect anything. It just makes losing easier." He looked at her then. Really looked. And for a moment, the mask slipped. "I don't know how to love without destroying," he said hoarsely. "Everyone I've ever needed has paid for it." Ellie stepped closer. "I'm still here. That's what scares me." He left 2 days later. The penthouse felt cavernous in his absence. Ellie moved through the rooms like a ghost, replaying every conversation, every almost touch. She told herself she'd been foolish to hope. Weeks passed. Emails from Adrian were brief, polite, professional. She tried to keep busy, volunteering, reading, rebuilding a sense of self beyond the glass tower. But every quiet moment echoed with his absence. Then the call came. Adrian had collapsed during a board meeting in Zurich. Exhaustion. The assistant said, "Nothing serious." But Ellie didn't hesitate. She booked the flight that night. When she reached the hospital, Adrian looked smaller than she remembered. Color drained, confidence stripped away by thin sheets and IV lines. His eyes widened when he saw her. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," she said, sitting beside him. "But I am." Tears burned behind her eyes. "You don't get to decide what I can handle." His voice broke. "I tried to let you go before I needed you too much." She took his hand. He didn't pull away. "I'm not asking for guarantees," Ellie whispered. "I just don't want to be shut out." Adrian closed his eyes, breath shaking. "I love you," he said. The words sounded raw, unfamiliar, and I don't know how to survive that. Ellie leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "Then let's learn together." For the first time, he didn't retreat. The city felt different when they returned. Not brighter, not quieter. Just real. Adrian no longer rushed ahead when they entered a room. He waited for Ellie now. his hand finding hers naturally. Not for cameras or appearances, but because letting go felt wrong. The board noticed. So did the media. So did Ellie. Adrian still worked long hours. But he came home. He asked about her day and listened. Really listened. When he traveled, he called. Not with updates about business, but about the way the sky looked in foreign cities. About meals that reminded him of her laugh. One evening, months after Zurich, Ellie found him standing by the windows of the penthouse, the city glowing beneath them. I used to think control was safety, Adrian said, that if I never needed anyone, nothing could be taken from me. Ellie stepped beside him. And now? Quote, now I know love isn't a weakness. It's a risk. He turned to her. One I choose. They didn't rush the transformation. Healing didn't come in grand gestures, but in small truths. In arguments that ended in understanding instead of distance. In nights where silence was comfortable, not cold. The contract they'd signed quietly expired. Neither mentioned it. The public saw a billionaire and his elegant wife. What they didn't see were the late-night talks on the couch. Ellie's feet tucked under Adrian's leg as she read aloud, or the way he softened when she rested her head on his shoulder. 1 year after the wedding, Adrian planned something different. No press, no board, no cameras. He took Ellie back to the small cafe on Grant Street, the one where everything had begun. It was closed for the night, lights dimmed, rain tapping gently against the windows. Ellie looked around, confused. Why are we here? Quote, Adrian reached into his coat pocket. I asked you to marry me once out of necessity, he said. I promised you nothing. No affection, no love. He knelt. Ellie's breath caught. This time, I'm asking without contracts, without fear, without conditions. He held up a simple ring. Not because I need you to protect my image, but because I love you. Completely, freely. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Adrian, quote, I can't promise perfection, he continued, but I promise honesty, presence, a lifetime of choosing you. Ellie didn't hesitate. Yes. When he slipped the ring onto her finger, it felt lighter than the first, but infinitely stronger. They didn't rush to announce it. The vow renewal happened quietly on the rooftop of Vale Tower, beneath an open sky. No audience, just city lights, whispered promises, and two people who had learned love the hard way. Adrian kissed her then, not urgent, not afraid, just certain. Later, as they stood together overlooking the city, Ellie smiled softly. You know, she said, you never promised affection. Adrian smiled back. No. He kissed her hand. I chose it, and that made all the difference.